Hello everyone, I'm Redvog, and welcome to my attempt at a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Emerald using only prime number Pokémon. Yes, in the ever-escalating arms race to put a new twist on the hardcore Nuzlocke challenge, I have settled on only using Pokémon whose National Pokédex number is prime. For those of you who weren't paying attention in high school maths, a prime number is defined as a number greater than 1 that it's not the product of two smaller numbers. In other words, a prime number is only divisible by 1 in itself without leaving a remainder. Prime numbers underpin most of modern day digital cryptography that keeps your data safe online and is a completely unrelated fact, other than being a great segue into a would-be VPN sponsorship. But I have too much self-respect to do something like that. Now I chose Emerald for this challenge because although they are common under 100, as you start getting into triple digits, prime numbers become few and far between. This will dramatically shake up the encounter table and bring a fresh challenge to a game I've played many times before. In defining my rules for the challenge, I also need to consider how to handle evolutionary lines, because there are no sequential prime numbers other than 2 and 3. Usually in Nuzlocke, once you've caught your encounter, there's no limitation on whether you can evolve it, meaning that the useless Winona that you catch in Rustef Tunnel can turn into the slightly less useless Exploud just in time for the 7th gym. But for this challenge, I'm only going to allow myself to use Pokemon in trainer battles if their Natdex number is prime, so by my rules, I'm stuck with good old Whismur. Spoiler alert, it's number 293 and that's prime, so wish me luck. But on the flip side, I will allow myself to catch pre-evolutions of prime number Pokemon, provided that I don't use them in trainer battles, for reasons that will become clear later on. This means, for example, that I could catch a Pidgey, 16, not prime, grind it on wild Pokemon until it evolves into Pidgeotto, 17, prime, but then I can't evolve it into the non-prime Pidgeot, which is number 18. Speaking of rules, here's the hardcore Nuzlocke rule set that I play by, but I should mention that I will be allowing myself to use rare candies for leveling up, as no one wants to spend hours grinding levels. And so that's it, let's dive into the challenge, and let me know in the comments how many encounters it took you to guess the nickname theme. The run starts and I choose Torchic to save Professor Birch from the rampaging Trash Panda. However, I can't use it until it reaches level 36 and evolves into Blaziken, which is prime at 257. Meridian has a hasty nature and, by the looks of things, a high special attack IV, which is pretty good. I head north to the first battle with Brendan, which looks like it's headed for defeat. But then it turns out Mudkip is just speed tied with Meridian, who happened to lose 4 50-50 speed ties in a row. Meridian does come in clutch though, moving first when it matters and winning me the battle. With that, I can head to Route 103 to get this run's official starter, 263 Zigzagoon, which I call Ribsteak. He has an adamant nature, and that's also pretty good. To stand a chance of beating Roxanne, I need to plan my encounters, so I head through Route 104 while avoiding the grass to get to Petalburg Woods. There I pick up my encounter 268 Cascoon, which I name Example. Although this isn't a prime number, 269 is, so I quickly evolve her into Dustox. Having Dustox on the team eliminates the Wurmple line from the possible Route 102 encounters, due to my use of Duplicates clause. Therefore I can keep re-rolling encounters here until I find either a Lotad or Routes, both of which have evolutions which are prime numbers, 271 Lombre and 281 Curlier. Due to the tight matchup with Roxanne, Lombre is preferable, and that's what I find, catching her and calling her Real Estate. The first gym would be impossible without a Lombre, hence why I'm allowing myself to catch pre-evolutions in this run. Lotad evolves at level 14, just before the Roxanne level cap, and has a lonely nature, which isn't particularly helpful. Dupe's Claws also allows me to search for a Talo on Route 104, as its evolution Swallow, 277, is prime. I catch one and call it Amazon, but I can't use him until he evolves at level 22, which is after the second gym, so into the box he goes to keep Meridian company. Don't worry, he'll get plenty of action later on. Amazon has a lax nature, but that's of little consequence. When I get to Rustborough, I head straight to Roxanne, and Real Estate dispatches both Geodudes without any problems. Out comes Roxanne's Ace Nosepass, who shakes off a Bullet Seed like a champ, and then hits back with a huge critical hit Rock Tomb. This also sufficiently lowers Real Estate's speed to the point she is slower than Nosepass, which then uses Block, so I can't switch out. Things aren't looking good as Roxanne heals twice, offsetting any damage I can do until Real Estate finally manages to hit a 4-turn Bullet Seed, which swings the battle in my favour. I can eventually finish off the fight, but that was seriously sloppy play. I risked multiple critical hits there, but we came through the first gym battle unscathed. I head to Rostov Tunnel to help Mr. Briny retrieve his lost bird, and in the tunnel I bump into everyone's least favourite Gen 3 Pokemon, Whismur. God, I hate this evolutionary line, but 293 is a prime number, so Time the Whismur joins the team. An encounter is an encounter, after all. I retrieve the Devon goods from the Aqua Grunt and return them to the Devon Corporation, where I'm asked to fulfill yet another unpaid internship. Their HR director must have watched my Pokémon Yellow with no cash video, which is linked in the card in the top right. On my way out of Rustborough, I accept Brendan's invitation to battle, and promptly headbutt his mudkip into oblivion. He informs me that Mr. Briney, the old crusty dude who smells of kippers and has a boat outside his house, is a sailor. Didn't see that one coming. Mr. Briney takes me to Dewford town, and I head straight to Granite Cave to deliver Stephen's letter. On my way I find a Zubat, number 41, and catch it, calling it Coat. I deliver the letter, and Stephen tells me that he thinks my ragtag bunch of Pokemon are capable. Well, we can certainly put that to the test against Brawly. I lead Real Estate into Brawly's Machop, and fake out for some chip damage. The follow-up Bullet Seed gets a 5-hit, bringing Machop into the red, which is exactly what I wanted. This makes Brawly use a Super Potion, which I'd rather he did here than on the Makuhita he has in the back. I go for another Bullet Seed, but Machop's next Karate Chop crits, so I'm forced into a switch. Zubat's typing Walls fighting types, so in comes Coat for his competitive debut, which starts atrociously with 2 missed Supersonics. It really is a trash move. The third one connects, and then Machop hits itself in confusion, clearing the way for Coat to knock it out. Brawly's Meditite is famous for knowing Focus Punch as its only damaging move, so despite it setting up several bulk ups, provided I keep attacking here, Coat is never in any danger. In fact, I slowly whittle down its health to make Brawly use its final Super Potion, before I knock it out, making sure that it doesn't depart with the light screen or reflect still active. This just leaves the Makuhita, but as example has a 4 times resistance to fighting moves, plus confusion to hit for super effective special damage. Brawly is always fighting a losing battle. Even a +2 critical Vital Throw does less than 50% damage to example, who quickly wraps things up. 2 badges down and no deaths, but I've got a bad feeling about Watson, who's up next. The rival fight on 110 is supposed to be a run killer, but as long as you plan for it, it shouldn't throw up any problems. Coat with Wing Attack wipes out Brennan's Lombre and Slugma, then I switch in Real Estate to get the sweet 4 times effectiveness against Marsh Stomp. See you later, Brendan. As I head into Moorville, my thoughts turn to how exactly I can beat Watson with my current team. I really need an electric resistance, and Oddish 43 is available on both routes 110 and 117. I go to 117 first, as here it has a 40% encounter rate, and I want to use it as a duplicate to hopefully allow me to get Plusle on 110, and that's how Suspect joins the team. Now Route 110 is a straight shootout between the 15% Gulpin, which can't be used until it evolves into Swalot 317 at level 26, or the 1% Plusle, which is number 311. Sadly, I get the Gulpin and I name him Contractor. I can't believe I'm saying this, but with the amount of water in the game, Plusle would have been one of the best encounters available to me. Now, even with the additional Suspect, Watson is still looking tough. They say a poor workman blames his tools, but in this instance, I am definitely going to need some new tools to stand a chance. I want to buy the Flamethrower TM from the Game Corner, but this costs 4,000 coins, which is 80,000 Pokédollars. Battling all the trainers in the game I've skipped so far will still leave me short, and I can't rematch trainers until after the 5th gym. But this is where Gulpin does have some use prior to Watson. Wild Gulpins on Route 110 can hold big pearls, which sell for nearly 4k Pokédollars. Using the Thief TM, I can farm these and collect enough of them to exchange for Game Corner coins. As Gulpin is a 15% encounter, with each Gulpin having both a 5% chance of carrying a big pearl, and then a 50% chance of having the ability Sticky Hold, this means that each Pokemon I encounter on Route 110 has just under a 0.4% chance of being a Gulpin I can actually steal from. Needless to say, I go about this task entirely legitimately, and would never consider resorting to PK Hex for a monotonous task like this. My next stage of preparation is to put my team of 6 through a rigorous program of self-improvement. Talking of improving one's skills, today's video is sponsored by Skillsh. Nah, just kidding. But seriously, someone sponsor me please. I've got mouths to feed. Running some calculations, I can see that I'm going to need to EV train my team to give my Pokemon the power they need to beat Watson, pun very much intended. For instance, I want to boost Amazon's attack, so I grind him on Wild Poochyena on Route 101, which give 1 attack EV per battle up to the maximum of 252. I also max out his HP EVs on Wurmple. Here I actually switch train Suspect and Amazon at the same time, as both will gain 1 HP EV from each Wurmple defeated, but only half the experience points. By also using the switch training tactic for my whole team on level 5 Tentacle that can be fished up in Dewford Town, I can give all 6 team members 1 special defense EV per battle for just 12 experience points each. This also makes Tentacle my Dewford Town encounter, as Tentacruel number 73 is eligible, but it's not available until level 30, which is after the Flannery level cap, and there will be plenty of other opportunities to get one later, so I don't catch one. Now, being totally honest, I should add that for these EV training and item farming grinds, I prove that it can be done in game once, then I use PK Hex to edit the rest of the items and EVs into the save file. I ensure that I calculate the EXP gain that goes alongside the EVs to make sure I wouldn't have overleveled had I done this for real. Yes, I am sad enough to use a spreadsheet to track this. Sometimes in challenge runs, EV grinding is the only way to consistently get past a certain point of the game, but it's a time-consuming exercise, and I have better things to be doing with my life. Please feel free to yell at me in the comments and tell me how my run is invalid, because I just don't care. My final act before Watson is to pre-poison Amazon on a Wild Gulpin to activate his Gut ability, giving him a +1 attack stat boost going into the battle. I double check my calculations, and here we go. Conventional wisdom may be to always play around critical hits, but I open with a calculated risk. A Guts and Silk Scarf boosted quick attack from Amazon does exactly enough to put Watson's Voltorb into the red. I hope and pray that Voltorb doesn't crit me in return, because then Watson will use one of his 2 super potions. The gamble pays off as Amazon dodges the 1 in 16 crit, and then another 2 quick attacks take down the Voltorb. Amazon could one-shot the Electrike that comes out next with another quick attack, but I want to switch here to get set up for the Magneton and Manectric that are coming up. I switch to Real Estate, who chips Electrike for a bit of damage with Fake Out, and then a low roll Bullet Seed. The next step in the plan is to switch to Suspect, who can put Electrike to sleep and then finish it off without taking too much damage in return. Suspect's high Spadef and HP allow him to take a fair amount of damage from Magneton, but he hits his first stun spore anyway. I then switch to Time, and Magneton gets fully paralysed, allowing Time to hit a big flamethrower. Magneton wants to regain speed control in the battle, so responds with a Thunder Wave, but this just triggers Time's Cherry Berry, allowing him to go first again next turn, and knock out the Magneton with another flamethrower. Yes, Time the Whismer took down Watson's Magneton without taking any damage in return. To think I was bad-mouthing the Whismer line earlier. Because Time is still at full health, thanks to Magneton being fully paralysed, I keep him in versus Manectric to try and get some chip damage in. However, Manectric starts setting up Howl and that can be scary, so I revert to the original plan of switching in Suspect. Suspect pulls through again, hitting Poison Powder first time, and now Manectric's on the clock because Watson has no way to heal status conditions. Finally, it's Example's time to shine, and she goes about Protect and Moonlight stalling the Manectric, burning through its Citrus Berry and Watson's last super potion before it finally falls. That's now 3 badges and no deaths. This is almost too easy. After reuniting the Lovebirds in Rustturf Tunnel, I discover the Strength of True Love, sorry, awful joke, and continue on my way. Fiery Path brings about some new encounters, either Machop for Machoke, which is 67, Grimer for Muck, 89, or Coughing, 109. However, as Machop is a guaranteed encounter on Jagged Pass, I use Repel to avoid any encounters here. Where I can get an encounter though is Route 113. The only prime number here is 227 Skarmory. I eventually find one and I am really excited to be able to use one in an Emerald Nuzlocke for once, as I always seem to get Spinder here. It takes a while, but eventually Optimus joins the team. Sadly he has a quiet nature, which isn't great, but just having a Steel type will be really useful. The level cap being raised to Flannery's Torkoal allows me to evolve Contract into Swallow, so I make sure to do this before the Maxie fight, in case I need the Yawn and Encore utility that he brings to the table. Frankly, the Maxie fight turns out to be bizarre. I lead Real Estate into his Mighty Enna to take the Intimidate and then try and get a defense drop using Rock Smash. However, this doesn't happen and Maxie just switches in his Zubat, so I switch into Coat, intending to match him like for like. Turns out this wasn't a great idea as Maxie Zubat hits Coat for huge damage with a wing attack, so I'm forced to switch out to Contractor and then to Optimus to KO it. This baits Maxie's Camerupt and I know an Ember is incoming, so I switch to Amazon, who immediately gets crit. I need to switch here, so go to Contractor, who then locks Camerupt into Focus Energy with Encore. Contractor can then chip away at Camerupt's health with Body Slam, which paralyzes on the first turn. And this is where things start getting weird. Camerupt gets fully paralysed 4 times in a row, as Maxie heals and I stupidly try and Encore the turn after, thinking this would still lock in Focus Energy. Camerupt knows Magnitude, so I'd already been risking a high roll against Contractor, and so I switch back to Optimus for safety, who isn't affected by ground moves. So far, so good. Expecting Camerupt to use Ember, which I can then lock in with Encore, I switch back to Contractor, only for it to use Magnitude on the switch. I have no idea why the AI picked a ground move against a flying type here, unless it was predicting a switch, which I don't think it can do. Thankfully Magnitude only rolls at 4, so Contractor survives despite it being a critical hit. I switch back to Optimus again to see if the same thing happens, and lo and behold, Camera Up uses Magnitude another 3 times before it finally hits an Ember, which would have killed Optimus had it crit. In case Optimus's final Swift doesn't kill from here, I switch to Real Estate, who can take down the Earthy Fire Camel. Real Estate and Optimus then combine to KO the Mighty Enna from before. That was way harder than it should have been, thanks to some strange move choices from the AI, but we survive. I head down to Jagged Pass and collect my Machop encounter here, calling her the Pump. I also head back to Fiery Path to get my encounter there, which is a coughing I call Sub. With these new additions to the team, it's time to prepare for Flannery. Similar to my Watson strat, by spending many arduous hours grinding level 2 Poochyena and Wurmple, I can max out the Pump's HP and attack EVs. Although not strictly necessary for this fight, given what I'm planning, I'm going to want to have max attack and HP on the Pump later in the game, so it makes sense to get it over with now. I'm tempted to go off on a side rant here about why EVs are a poor mechanic, but you can just go and watch some Pokemon challenges instead. Actually, please don't, I need the views more than he does. I evolve the Pump into Machoke so I can legally use it in battles, and then head into the Flannery fight. I lead Amazon for a guts boosted KO on Flannery's lead Numel, which seems oddly familiar. Slugma comes out and it's Flannery's weak link. I expect it wants to use Overheat, so I switch to Zubat to tank the attack, and more importantly, get the -2 special attack drop on Flannery's Slugma. However, I forget that the AI will likely want to set up Sunny Day here to boost its future overheats, and that's what happens. An overheat from Slugma in the sun, without any stat drops, will OHKO Coat, so I switch in Real Estate to eat the incoming fire attack, and drop Slugma's special attack. This was risking a crit, but thankfully I'm not punished. Coat can now survive a -2 overheat from Slugma, so in she comes for the next turn. But Flannery reads me like a book and sets up a light screen. Still, I can just attack here to bait out the next overheat and bring Slugma down to -4, so that I can begin setting up a sweep. My luck finally catches up with me though, with this overheat critting and Coat falls. Although being honest, she had outlived her usefulness at this stage, what with being unable to evolve into an unprimed Golbat or Crobat. I bring out Example with the intention of stalling out Slugma's remaining overheat PP, but despite Sunny Day being set up, Flannery just decides to use the non-stab, not very effective 20 base power move Smog against Example. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. I need to adapt quickly to counter these Galaxy Brain strats from Flannery, so I switch in Contractor, who would live most overheat crit damage rolls even in the sun. Thankfully, Slugma uses Smog on the switch, and Contractor can lock her into it with Encore. I switch in the Pump for her debut, and now the sweep can begin. I've taught the Pump Bulk Up and Dig, as well as made her hold the Soft Sand from Route 110. 4 Bulk Ups is enough to ensure she OHKOs Flannery's Camerupt and Torkoal, which she outspeeds. With the newly acquired Go-Go goggles, I can ruin the career of Hoenn's structural engineers by destroying a 4-story sandcastle by removing the claw fossil that was apparently holding the entire structure together. Anorith, number 347, is a valid encounter, although as it will be revived in Rustboro City, it doesn't count as my Route 111 encounter. That honour goes to 331 Cacnea, which sadly doesn't share the dark jewel typing that its evolved form Cacturn does. Still, we all know how much water is in the game, so another grass type will still come in handy. I call the Cacnea Location. Next up is the Petalburg Gym and a showdown with my absent father Norman. Despite all his wrongdoing, I can sense that there is goodness within him, and there is a possibility that he can still be saved. I lead with the Pump, who is pre-poisoned and holding a Person Berry in case of Teeter Dance, and she can OHKO both the Spinder and Vigoroth before she is at risk of a crit to Linoone. I switch in Optimus, who being Steel type completely walls the Linoone and takes it down without any trouble. This leaves Norman slacking, which we all know can be cheesed with the move Protect, which is where Of Your Life and Example come into play. What follows next is about 10 minutes of Protect stalling, while Norman heals twice. In the interest of time, this part of the battle can quite neatly be summed up by the following footage. That's 5 badges down with just the 1 death. And now I have access to Surf, so on my way to Route 118 I take the side quest offered by Watson and catch a Voltorb in New Morven. Although Voltorb at number 100 is most definitely not a prime number, Electrode at 101 is. I catch the first Voltorb I come across, calling them Video, then switch on the generator to earn the Thunderbolt TM from Watson. As well as Surf, beating Norman gives me TM42 Facade. And y'all know what that means. Using Amazon's newfound powers, I can smash through the Weather Institute and the Brennan battle before heading to Fortree City and picking up the Devon scope. In the double battle against Camper Flint and Birdkeeper Eduardo, my poor little ribsteak is done like a kipper as I get totally outplayed by a Swellow using Endeavour. Although just like Coat, ribsteak stats just aren't cutting it against the stronger Pokemon my opponents now yield, so this isn't a huge loss. Sadly, Amazon would have overleveled on the Fortree gym trainers, and so I have to halt his seemingly relentless march to obliterate all competition put before him. Still, next day delivery, so that's pretty cool. Winona's birds stand between me and my 6th badge, but having prepared by evolving Video into Electrode and teaching them Thunderbolt, they can OHKO Winona's lead Swablu before baiting out her Altaria, which knows Earthquake. I think this is a free switch to Amazon, but instead her Altaria sets up Dragon Dance. Despite her 1+ speed boost, Altaria is still slower than Amazon, who does what he does best and KOs the Altaria with yet another Facade, although this did require him to be holding a Silver Scarf for the one-shot. Tropius is also an easy Facade OHKO, but as Amazon is getting low on health and Pelipper could theoretically protect stall him, I switch back to Video, who gets confused on the switch in. I decide to switch to clear out the confusion, and after Pelipper wastes time with a few consecutive protects, Video knocks it out to bring out Winona's own Skarmory. Thunderbolt isn't quite a one-hit KO, but all Winona can do is heal and then watch as Video hits a critical T-Ball to earn me the Feather Badge. On the way to Lily Cove City, I pick up number 359 Absol on Route 120 and call her Rate, as well as a Shuppet on Route 121, who I call Cost. On Route 122, I also pick up my Tentacool encounter, first checking it has the ability Clear Body rather than Liquid Ooze, and I call it Minister. The next part of the game is a lot of typical Pokemon storyline stuff where not much really happens. Evil teams try to do something evil, child protagonists interrupt their plans, mild peril ensues. Oh, and I lose Video to a Wobbuffet's Destiny Bond in Mount Pyre. So here I was hoping that after 3 Screeches, Rollout would KO the Wobbuffet in 2 turns, which it did, but I was chancing my luck that the Wobbuffet would go for Mirror Coat or Safeguard instead of Destiny Bond or Counter. Looking back, the correct play would have been to PP stall out Destiny Bond by repeatedly using Screech before trying the Rollout strat. But there's a good chance the Wob would have used Counter in this scenario anyway, which would have had the same outcome. This one's just down to me forgetting that this trainer has a Wobbuffet, and not leading with a Pokemon that knows an indirect damage dealing move accordingly. Losing my Soul Electric type really sucks, as there's a ton of Water Pokemon in late game Emerald, and Electrode knowing Explosion can be useful to get you out of a tight spot. I need to flesh out my team some more, so I bring Meridian out of the box and evolve him into Combusken and then Blaziken, which is a legal encounter with a dex number of 257. I also bring out Minister the Tentacool and evolve her into 73 Tentacruel, after EV grinding 252 special attack EVs on Wild Slugma and Spinder. I steamroll through the Team Magma and Aqua hideouts and head out onto the open Hoenn Seas to chase down these evil organisations hell-bent on a climate catastrophe. En route, I decide to distract myself from the impending ecological meltdown by heading to Mossdeep and taking on the gym leaders Tate and Liza there. I'm sure it will come as a surprise to absolutely no one, but Pre-Poison Amazon forms an integral part of my strategy here, alongside Real Estate, who is pre-damaged for a specific reason. Leading with these two allows Amazon to OHKO the opposition Zati with a Facade, while Real Estate fakes out the Claydol, preventing it from attacking. Tate and Liza then bring out Lunatone to replace the fallen Zati. The chip damage from Real Estate's fake out and the level up from defeating Zati now allows Amazon to KO the Claydol with another Facade. Real Estate then uses Protect, which I taught her via TM. Because Real Estate started the battle with low HP, this baits out Psychic from the Lunatone, which is programmed to always go for a kill if it sees one. I do this to ensure Lunatone doesn't attack the Amazon, as a critical hit Psychic would knock it out from this health. With Amazon's health at 75% and with 2 rock Pokemon on the field, I need to switch here to my secret weapon, Time. I also switch out Real Estate for Rate, my Absol, who is immune to Psychic type attacks. Although it knows Flamethrower and Solar Beam, as I had deliberately damaged Real Estate to the point that Solrock could only KO it with Psychic, both Solrock and Lunatone go for Psychic on my right hand slot, meaning my double switch here is completely free, and now it's Time's time to shine. I have also taught him Protect, so he can act as the bait in my trap while I set up a Sword Stance with Rate. However, as a result of the Special Defense EV training I did for Watson, neither Solrock nor Lunatone see the kill on Time and instead go for a setup of their own. I should add here that Rate's IVs completely suck, so I had to train her in speed EVs a little to make sure she could outspeed the opposition. But with one Sword Stance in the bank, she can OHKO Solrock with a super effective Shadow Ball, which I picked up in Mount Pyre, meaning Video's death was not in vain. And by the way, the crit here just doesn't matter. I targeted Solrock first because Lunatone only knows Psychic as a damaging move, so it can't hurt the Dark type Absol. It can, however, target Time, who failed to save himself with a double Protect. But Tate and Liza are feeling kind today, and Lunatone just goes for a Calm Mind. As Shadow Ball is a physical move in Gen 3, the Calm Mind doesn't save Lunatone from suffering the same fate as its chum Solrock, and Rate wraps up a surprisingly stress-free T&L battle to earn me the Mind Badge. By the way, sorry for forgetting to turn battle animations back on here, I hope it wasn't too distracting. With that gym battle out of the way, I can get back to the minor task of saving the world, which requires teaming up with Steven Stone to force Team Magma into a change of heart. I go in a bit unprepared for this fight, and am nearly punished for it when Maxie's camera up hits a huge EQ crit on Real Estate, which nearly kills her. We are able to pull through though, with the glorious sight of our twin Skarmories doubling up on Crobat for the win. After a tougher than expected double battle with an Aqua Grunt and Aqua Admin Shelly, I get to the bottom of Seafloor Cavern and can defeat Archie, who awakens Kyogre with the wrong coloured orb. I follow Steven to Satopolis and witness the epic showdown between the two legendary Pokemon in full 32-bit glory. A trip to the Cave of Origin and then Skypillar brings Rayquaza out of hibernation to end the climate catastrophe. This means the final gym is upon me, and spoiler alert, Amazon sweeps most of it with Facade. Only Juan's Kingdra is not a guaranteed OHKO, but even that's a range. However, if Amazon weren't to get the one shot, then Kingdra would knock it out in return, and that's a risk I'm not willing to take. My plan is to slowly whittle down Kingdra with Minister, as Tentacruel walls it and can slowly outdamage it. However, Minister clearly has no chill, as she hits a critical hit Sludge Bomb, which also poisons Kingdra immediately. This does precisely enough damage after the poison tick to mean Juan doesn't heal or use rest on the next turn, so Minister can KO the Kingdra with another Sludge Bomb. Amazon can then clear up the rest with a couple more Facades. If you hadn't realised by now, Gut Swallow is a filthy Pokemon. I want to point out that now I can use Waterfall outside of battle, I can go and catch a Bagon in Meteor Falls, as Salaman's, number 373, is a prime number. But I'm not going to do that. It feels a bit cheap to pick up a pseudo-legendary just for the purpose of taking on the Elite Four. I navigate through Victory Road without incident and arrive at Evergrande City, home of the Elite Four, which is most definitely not a prime number. A bit of preparation is required, mostly adjusting movesets via the Move Relearner and teaching TMs from the Game Corner. I also feed 2 Greppa Berries to Real Estate to remove some of the Special Defense EV investment from Watson, and then I reallocate those EVs to Speed, for reasons that, hopefully, will become clear later, should I make it that far. I raise the rest of the team up to level 55 to match Drake Salamence, and here's my final Elite Four team. Amazon the Swallow, Meridian the Blaziken, Real Estate the Lombre, Contractor the Swallow, Minister the Tentacruel, and Rate the Absol. Can this team of ragtag mathematical oddities become champions of Hoenn? Let's find out. My plan for Sydney is to Facade Sweep with Amazon. But crap, I forgot about his Mighty N's Intimidate, which lowers my attack by 1 stage. Nah, just kidding. Due to the level difference, Amazon can still OHKO his entire team, despite being -1 attack. Next up is Phoebe, and her lead Dusclops is famous for always using Protect on turn 1, and this proves to be her downfall. It allows Rate to set up a Sword Stance and then sweep Phoebe's team with Shadow Ball, although I did have to grind a few attack EVs onto Absol to ensure she could OHKO Sableye. Glacier is the 3rd Elite Four member, and her lead Celio also always uses a status move to begin with, in this instance setting up Hail. This allows Meridian to use Bulk Up once, then fire off super effective Brick Breaks into her entire team. Again, to ensure an OHKO on the Walrein, which is defensively bulky, I did have to grind some attack EVs, But alternatively, I could have just used bulk up twice on the lead CDO and achieved the same outcome. Drake's Shelgon is also a protect user, clearly a common theme in the Hoenn Elite Four, but there's nothing beneficial I can set up with, so Minister just uses 2 ice creams to take it down. This baits out Flygon and then Altaria, who both have 4 times weaknesses to ice, so Minister can easily wipe them out too. Drake stems the massacre by sending out Kingdra, and I am forced into my first switch of the Elite Four. Kingdra Dragon dances on my switch to Contractor, and then the Seahorse dances again while Contractor yawns. I expect Kingdra will go on the attack before taking its first sleep turn, so for this reason I have taught Contractor Protect, and my prediction is spot on. I switch in Amazon on Kingdra's second sleep turn, which in Gen 3 is the guaranteed minimum number of turns a Pokemon will stay snoozing. But this is where I've made a monumental error. When coming up with my strategy, I didn't factor in the possibility of Kingdra using Dragon Dance twice while I was putting it to sleep. This means that Kingdra now outspeeds Amazon, so if it wakes up on this turn, it can OHKO me with a +2 Body Slam. Given that Kingdra has now set up 2 Dragon Dances, I don't have much of a choice but to go on the attack and pray that he sleeps for 1 more turn.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I cross all of my fingers and toes and hit Facade, hoping to see those Zeds float above Kingdra's head. However, my stomach drops as Kingdra wakes up that turn, and uses another Dragon Dance. Drake's stupidity saves me, and I somehow avoid a very likely wipe. Drake's Ace Salamence enters the fray, and I can hard switch to Minister as she survives a critical hit from any of Mensa's attacks, and then can outspeed and retaliate with a final Ice Cream. I had to look back at the showdown counts for the turn Kingdra woke up, just to see what happened. Turns out Amazon wasn't dead to either a +2 Body Slam or Surf, so the HP EVs I grinded early in the run actually saved me here.
That's the HP EVs!
However, had the AI rolled a critical hit on either move, Amazon would now be very much dead. Surely my luck will run out eventually. That's the Elite Four defeated, with the only casualty being my boxer shorts when Drake's Kingdra woke up. It's time to see if I can go one step further and become champion of Hoenn. As I don't have any electric types, I'm going to have to get creative for the battle with Wallace. Even at level 56, one of the 16 damage rolls for Amazon's Facade will not OHKO Wallace's Wailord, so I need to get some chip damage in first. Up steps Meridian to bravely sacrifice his life and return for a safe kill on Wailord with Amazon. Except Meridian somehow survives Wailord's Water Spout with 2 hit points remaining. It looks like another Brick Break will kill here, but Wailord survives on a Sliver and Meridian falls. As Wallace heals on the next turn, I can switch in Swellow safely and get some chip damage in with a quick attack before a Facade kills the whale. Tentacruel and Milotic both know ice moves, so come out trying to get the kill on Amazon, but he outspeeds both and OHKOs with another couple of Facades. I was expecting either Whiscash or Gyarados to come out next, but Wallace just sends out his Ludicolo, which has ended Nuzlockes of mine in the past thanks to its tendency to set up double team and evade every attack going. Thankfully in this instance, another Facade just KOs it in 1. Amazon levels up to 57, but even that won't allow him to OHKO Whiscash, so I switch to Real Estate to tank a Surf, and then slowly whittle away at Whiscash with Giga Drain and Bullet Seed. Whiscash does set up a couple of Amnesias to boost his special defense, but even with that, he can't outlast Real Estate thanks to her regaining so much health via Giga Drain. Whiscash finally falls, and Wallace's final Pokemon Gyarados comes in. I have no electric moves among my team, but by letting Real Estate fall, I can safely switch and rate the Absol, who has retained the move Perish Song for exactly this occasion. Rate outspeeds Gyarados and gives her life for the cause. Contractor can then dishonourably protect all the remaining Perish Song turns, defeating Wallace and crowning me champion of Hoenn, even if it was rather anticlimactic in the end. And so there we have it. My team of primes proved themselves to be more than the sum of their parts. It took a few sacrifices to overcome Wallace, but if you're not going to sack Pokemon against the champion, is it really even a Nuzlocke? The credits roll, and I bask in the glory of my achievement. I hope you enjoyed watching this run as much as I enjoyed playing it. In particular, I found that the limitations on valid encounters put a fun twist on an old game. If you did enjoy it, please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more terrible puns and possibly some more Nuzlockes. Until next time, this is Redvog, saying TTFN.